Well, thank you so much for having us. First off, I've got to tell you, it may sound kind of strange, but I really like the spirit of this group. Again, that...
We can arrange for you to be here regularly.
Well, yeah. There's a few other Rotaries that are wanting to do that as well. And I do need to be, so if you want to court me, that's fine. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you again for inviting us. My wife and I are the officers. We're lieutenants, so we're at the bottom of the pile when it comes to, it goes lieutenants, captains, majors, and then you have to kind of be in different positions in order to be above that. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but my wife and I have been at Alton now for the last 3.5 years, and this is our first appointment. Both my wife and I are degreed, but if you want to be a Salvation Army officer, you have to go to their school in Chicago, which you can hear the roar of Wrigley Field from the college. And it's 2 years of intenseness, I'll give you that. You learn a lot of stuff. But anyway, thank you for giving a little bit of the background. This group probably knows that we are a church. We're a small church, a small denomination, comparatively, but a very conservative, deeply biblical denomination. We're a little liberal when it comes to women. My wife is definitely my equal. And in fact, she's a better preacher than me, and that's hard on me, but I let her go. My wife actually does all the administration, which, if you know anything about the Salvation Army, we are in every kind of social service you can imagine. And so it's highly administrative, and then I tend to be more the pastoral side of things, weekly pastoral. So we're very involved with typical church activities. We have a wonderful youth pastor. We have a large group of kids. It's called character building that comes on Wednesday nights. We enjoy that thoroughly. It's similar to the Boy Scouts, and they can earn badges. And but then we also have men's and women's ministries as well. The Army, like I mentioned, is in literally anything you can imagine when it comes to the human heart and social services. Some things you may not be aware of. We've tracked missing persons for 100 years. The Salvation Army is highly involved, but you won't know it because it's a secretive thing, but it's highly involved with trafficking of human people. We have homes and houses throughout the U.S. that help in that situation, but again, it's more of a secretive thing. Obviously, food pantry. Two times a week, we go through the alphabet. Once or twice every 2 times a week. We have a community pizza ministry that we feed several people on a weekly basis. We have what's called Pathways of Hope, which I'm not going to get too far into the weeds, but Pathways of Hope is a new program which is incredible, which we can take they have to have children, but we can take a mom or a dad with children, and we will literally hold their hand until they're out of the situation that they're in. It's a handout, not a handout. The Army is growing weary of the statistics, and what we're looking for is outcomes. So when we have a family that comes in that qualifies, we will take them from homeless, jobless, you name it, to actually back into society. What you most are aware of probably are our shelters. Our shelters are what they lack in physical looks, they have in my shelter director's ability to get people back to work. Our statistics are phenomenal. My shelter director, Mr. Herman Allen, I think it's like 80–85% is getting, our stats are getting men and women, and some are felons, which they seem to be the ones that really want to get back to work. but wonderful percentages of men and women getting back to work, getting out of that cycle, getting back into housing. We also do utility and rental assistance. We're working very closely with Bernie, Chief of Fire. If there's a fire, we're involved. Whether it's we're putting them in a hotel or assisting them with new materials for their house. The list goes on. I'll close with this. EDS is something that you're all aware of. It always goes back to the 93. It wasn't here in 93, but the 93 flood. The Salvation Army, and I hope if you get to know me, you'll realize I'm a pretty humble guy. But in a situation like this, I want you to know when you ring the bells and you gave that money, that you're giving it to a phenomenal organization. EDS, emergency disaster, we're the first ones there. And you don't know that because we don't spend money on advertising that.
You don't have a big truck you park out in front of the cameras?
Yes, yes. In fact, when the Twin Towers went down, we had trucks that were already there and they had to back them up as they were going down. And we're always, and again, I know it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, we're always the last ones to leave. There's still funding that was received for the Twin Towers that we're still using in counseling in different situations. So if the money goes, if you write a check for such and such, it goes there and it stays there until it's used. I'm going to turn it over to Greg, but one more second here. When you give, and Alton's pretty special because somehow, I don't know, God works it out, but 86 cents of every dollar, we're a little higher than the national average. So 86 cents of the dollar that you put into the kettle is staying in this community. It's staying in East Alton and Upper Alton and Wood River and Godfrey, and the areas of the Riverebend. So honestly, I don't think any other organization does it any better when it comes to keeping track of our finances and making sure that the money goes. In fact, I've shared this with a few people, and I know that a lot of folks like this. Our general in London makes less money than I do as a husband and wife and 2 children. So when you hear the big money with the CEOs and all of that, the Salvation Army actually, it's based on an allowance on a need. And so our general is just him and his wife, and he actually makes less money than my wife and I, who have 2 young children. So I'm proud to be a part of the Salvation Army. Greg is going to share with you a few things specifically about our bell ringing, which is our biggest time of the year for raising funds throughout the whole year. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Lieutenant. It is great to look out and see a number of familiar faces. This is my first opportunity to come to this most austere club in this particular position. A number of you over the years rode in the trolley in a parade or for a social event. That was 28 years of my life. Not that all of that has been given up, but we're not trolleying any longer. And I have been given a most honorable and humbling opportunity to work here locally, to utilize contacts that have been built over the last 25 or 30 years, to help an organization that I have grown to really love, to have a sense to understand what it means, to really provide a hand to those who oftentimes are truly the least and the lost of our community. I've just been with the Army since the 5th of October. Jumped in with not even any water wings, right into the deep. But I tell you what, the water is fine, and I encourage you, as you have opportunities, to join us, to connect with us. My hope, my sincere hope, is that there is life after the 2015 KETTLE campaign. You continue to have an opportunity to ensure that, because if I make my mark, they've said I can stay. If I don't, then I may have some real groveling to do to be able to continue to do this once again. But it's also humbling, and I want to share from my heart. Part of my Rotary connection goes all the way back to 1992. I was selected by the Alton Godfrey Club to be a GSE participant, and I went to India and was in Calcutta for the better part of that month of January, and it truly was transformational and life-changing for me, and really kind of sent me on a path of mission work and service, and I'm happy to say I've continued to do that and been leading my 9th and 10th teams to Honduras since 2005. But that's that, and this is now, and this is today. So as Mark shared and Lieutenant did, we're proud to say we're so thankful that this club last Saturday, with the beautiful weather that Mark selected, I don't know how insightful, I think that probably ought to be another dollar I'd have to put in for that. $330.24. That's awesome. As I came on board and we started to analyze and look at our situation, day after day after day, and it's not any fault to anyone, but as a little piece of history, part of the Army's mission is to put people to work that have no jobs. And so in our past at the Alton Corps, and many, and some still much more aggressively than ourselves, we actually paid folks to ring the bell. And that was one of the significant ways that clubs were able to cover the ground in the waterfront that they were able to do. But as Lieutenant Bryan and Lieutenant Terry came on board 3 years ago, the word was really beginning to come down from upon high as minimum wages started to increase, as some of the caliber and the quality of those folks that were just out to make a fast buck began to equally increase. It no longer was making sense. You know, if you paid somebody $50 and gave them employment, and over their course of time they raised $500 for you, that's an investment we all would make daily. But if you're paying somebody $40 or $50 to make 8 or 10, that's not good math. And the Army is very, very fiscally sound and responsible. So when lieutenants came on board, their decision was, well, if that's what you're wanting us to do, then we might as well kind of go cold turkey. And so for the last 3.5 years, the Alton Corps has been 100% volunteer. But over the course of that time, as we're trying to kind of get traction and get back up to speed, location after location after location, time slot after time slot after time slot, zero. Zero, because unless you register to ring, we don't hang a kettle. And if you're manning a kettle that doesn't exist and there's not a person there, then there's no money going in the till. So I said to the lieutenants, I think part of this community outreach, part of this penetration is to connect with folks. I'm privileged to know a lot of people, but when I looked at the math, 1,544 volunteers to cover every time slot, every location from the 20th of November to the 24th of December. That's what it takes. Well, I said, come on, guys. We've got a community of 80 to 85,000 people. That's not even 2%. We can do this. So with that mindset, we set a God-sized goal, an aggressive, but I feel attainable goal for this Army, this organization, the social service agency, this church that has provided services to our community for 127 years. As Mark said, it was founded in London in 1865, so it's 150 years old as a whole international organization. And right here, we're 127 of those 150 years. So I think that says a lot about our community. It says a lot about where we are, where we've come from, and in my belief, where we're going to go. So $99,000 is the goal, and until we reach that, we're not going to light our star. At our kickoff ceremony, first one that this Army has had in quite a number of years, We lit the whole tree all the way to the top so the community could see what a beautiful tree it was. An amazing donated tree that's almost 25 feet tall, that was the top of about a 40-foot tall tree that our good friends from the Anderson Tree Service cut the top out of and delivered to us, just sort of like just at the White House. So it's awesome. And seeing that tree lit all the way to the top is something that I've been praying about, discerning about, encouraging others to join, link with us, to give of a couple of hours of their time. We have 6 days to go. We still need 272 volunteers, 2 hours a time, if everybody does their piece. And so I'm sharing this with you, not from a guilty standpoint because your club is running, but maybe you are part of other organizations and others in your offices and others in your discipline and others in your church who maybe haven't. So we shouldn't cheat them out of the opportunity to do something that they are uniquely gifted and able to do. And if we all do that, then I'm confident even before the 24th, this is the Joe Willie Namath in me, even before the 24th, that we can light that star. As we stand here today, we're at $47,092.58. That means we have $51,907.42 to go. 6 days to do it. That's God-sized. But it's possible. And we believe that we know that we can light this star. It hasn't been lit in a bunch of years. But I know that we can do it. I know that clubs and organizations like yours doing your part. We had a gentleman come in the other day that had the resources and gave us a $5,000 check. Followed by a gentleman who was an envoy for a neighbor that brought us a $500 check. We need a few of those. 2 gold coins have shown up in the last several days. The momentum is coming. The magic of the season is here and now. The need, I can't even begin to tell you the need. 300 families in our community registered to have assistance. I just picked up 120 turkeys this morning. That's half of the 200 turkeys that are being distributed. To those that without an organization like the Army, without the help that you have so generously given and done, weren't going to have Christmas, weren't going to have toys, might not have food. So I need your help to make sure that we can light that star. I gave you a big packet. That's a lot more information than you needed or wanted. The first page is one of the most important, ringbells.org. From the comfort of your own living room, you can go there, see the dates, see the times, see the locations, and sign up for a shift. You can even do it online. We have online redkettle.org/Alton. Online redkettle.org/Alton, and you can make a contribution right online on an online Red Kettle. The balance of the information is the kind of programming that we've put together. Other things looking forward. We're already going to move beyond our president pro tem and our president that's been nominated into what the future looks like. There are programs, there are projects, Angel Tree, Adopt a Family, some food drives that are there. We put together a whole series of things. We did Merchant and Small Business Mondays, Bank and Credit Union 2-for-1 Tuesdays and Thursdays to get those organizations to match what their organization did that particular day. We have First Responder Faith-Based Fridays. We really haven't touched the faith community in a way that we can or should. And then Service Club Saturday. So part of that was to kind of have some parentheses around some groups and organizations, some fun things that we can do, some friendly competition. I'm telling you guys, Alton Godfrey Rotary needs to have a comeuppance. 48 out of the last 50 years, they have raised the most money for our organization. So the word on the street was somebody's nipping at their heels. It could be y'all. How would that feel? But it's a fun way to have some friendly competition with the organization, the Salvation Army, really reaping the benefit. But there's a little something in it for you. If you are the organization in sort of that parenthesis that raises the most money, then you're going to get lunch with the lieutenants. We're going to put them in chef's hats. We're going to invite you to the Army so you can kind of see what our world looks like. And we're going to throw lunch for you and your team. We put together a high school challenge, and these kids just finished. They've been working for 2 weeks, December 1 to December 15. East Alton, Wood River, Roxana, Alton High, Alton Middle School, Civic Memorial. So the school that raises the most money during that 2-week period is going to win a dance on us. DJ, pizza, soft drinks. So we're trying to have fun. It's too much work not to have fun. When I did Christmas back in the day, for that decade, 1992 to 2002, I told all my workers, all my volunteers, it's too much work not to have fun. So that's what it's about too. It's about having fun. It's about serving and giving of yourselves, doing the things that you can do, each one of us doing our part, and together we can light our star. Thank you very, very much.